guys, what's poppin'? How are you guys doing today? Yo, we getting Tony on ya. I don't know who Tony is, but you know what? I do know Tony. I know you. What's up, Tony? But I hope you guys are all doing fantastic. We are going to be talking about tone today, and potentially bad tone. I know tone is kind of like it's obviously super subjective. There are plenty of people who hate my guitar tone. There are plenty of people who like the guitar tone. I will say the majority, I get lots of questions about tone. I thought, you know what? I want to talk about why sometimes, people could have bad tone. And it's actually something, I was just at GearFest, and Steve Vai was talking, and he mentioned this, and I was like, oh, you know what? Because they asked him about tone, and he didn't talk about gear. So that's what I'm going to talk about, a bunch of different things that affect your tone. Doesn't necessarily matter the guitar and amp. I'm not saying that, a bad amp isn't going to just sound bad, but I think a good guitar player will make a bad amp work some way for them. So let's go. So the first one that we're going to talk about why sometimes, as a person, are we ever happy with our tone? Ever? I know that there were certain sounds. Now, when I think of tone, I think of just the overall sound of the note being delivered. Not necessarily does it have reverb on it, does it have that kind of stuff. The actual tone of the note that you're playing. And a big hurdle for me for the longest time was I liked the sound of like Zakk Wylde's tone and stuff like that. And a huge part of Zach's tone is the way he's playing, of course. Or just any guitar player, Angus Young. I liked all these guys' tone. And what I couldn't figure out was when I would bend, my vibrato was like this, years ago. Or I'd play notes and I'm like, I don't understand. My note doesn't, I'm playing the same note as them. My note doesn't sound like them. And part of that is the vibrato, the actual note that you're playing. So a person's vibrato can, drastically affect the tone, or just the way they fret and play a note. So like if you play a note like this, hear how it like sounds like tremolo-y, like it's shaking, something like that. Or if you push a note slightly out of pitch, it kills it. It's the point where you could be playing through a $50,000 guitar rig, but if you play a note that way, it's not going to sound good. It's kind of like if you took Eddie Van Halen's 1978 Van Halen 1, exact replica rig, and gave it to a person who's never played guitar before and told them to play it, they're not going to have good tone, if you consider his tone to be good. I think it's, the best of all time. But, they're not going to have good tone. Why not? All the gear's there, all that stuff. Well, no, the hands aren't there. This is exactly why people are always talking about why the tone is in your hands. And it's really the way that you execute and deliver the notes that will give you kind of your own tone. So a lot of times people tend to just like to tin the gain so much, just dime it out. And the issue with that kind of approach is once you have the gain, it's hard to not have the gain, if that makes sense. But if you have lower gain, you can add a more punch and basically more distortion and stuff like that just by the way that you're playing the notes. Now you can of course have an amp that's on 10 with gain and try to play softer. It's still going to be super compressed and stuff like that. And like I said, it's hard. Once you can always add more gain, but taking it away sometimes is a little bit of a challenge. So if you play like a tone like this, like I feel like I have, honestly, a ton of distortion on my tone, but I could play it softer, and it's the same overall tone, but I'm delivering the notes differently. You're going to hear me keep talking about that because I think it's so important. So if I'm just playing like this, okay, so that's it's distorted, but almost like a little past breakup. If I wanted to really get some edge to it, You notice how I dig in, I have more control. If I turned the gain all the way on 10, let me turn the distortion all the way up. It'll still sound good. So gain all the way up. It's hard to have those dynamics. Look, I'm picking softly, but listen to how much distortion there still is. It makes that impact when I really punch it so much less dramatic because it's like I'm picking so soft right now. And there's so much distortion. It's great for trying to, maybe to do that kind of stuff. It's great. But for me, like when it comes to dynamics, you gotta have less distortion in there. Listen again. So here. When I dig in. I don't know. I love it. The notes rings. It has that punch to it. You hear the dynamics. All of a sudden, the note isn't so compressed anymore. Just it expands, and to me, it makes a tone sound big. Now next we're actually going to talk about something, scales. Believe it or not, I think that scales can dramatically affect your tone, the overall sound. Now, I'm not even talking about like the sense of, oh, if I wanted to have this Lydian sound. I can, but that's not really the tone I'm talking about like that. That is, in my opinion, tone. But what I'm talking about is the actual way you are delivering the note. Look, I keep saying it. I think it's pretty important. What I'm talking about is playing with confidence. Now, if you don't know any scales at all, if you don't know essentially what notes you should or shouldn't play, I think it would be incredibly difficult to play with the same confidence as someone who at least knows a little bit. I know, in the grand scheme of things, a very tiny amount of theory. But I know enough to where I play confidently. If I'm in my genre, like, again, if I'm playing, like, with some jazz dude, I'm like, the confidence starts to shrink. But if I'm playing rock, well, that's kind of my, my bread and butter right there. That's what I feel the most comfortable in. And you listen to guys like Angus Young, was an Angus Young, and stuff like that, and you realize quickly, part of their sound is their raw attitude. I think I'll mention Zakk Wylde again. Zakk Wylde is one of the hardest guitar players to play like because he plays with such ferocity? One of those words. He just plays with so much strength. It's hard to replicate it. And, part of that is that he is just hammering those notes out. And I think that, part of a person's tone is really the confidence that they relay. So I know for me personally, whenever I'm playing, key of A, key of A and E, my keys, I'm playing those notes with confidence. So I really think actually having scales and stuff kind of on your side, or just even just a little bit of knowledge, can be a huge impact on your tone, because you want to be able to commit to notes and not wonder if it's going to sound the way that you want it to be very confident. There's nothing wrong with experimenting, trying notes that, you don't know if they're going to work or not. That's part of the fun. But also to be able to really commit to something on the spot, on the fly, it helps, and it brings about a different tone. Like if I was tentatively playing something like this, if I'm just playing my pentatonic scale. Say I don't know my pentatonic scale. Say I got lucky and played the right note. just kind of fishing around. You notice like that has this like small sound to it. But if I am kind of playing, you know, stuff like that, I'm committing. I'm focused more on my delivery of the note even than the note that I'm playing, because I know that that note is going to work. I want attitude. I want feel. You know, all that kind of stuff. I want it to be in there. I started like missing notes. I'm like, I'm going to bail out right now. Last one I'm going to leave you guys off with is understanding what your tone is saying. So, and I guess another way you could kind of look at it is understanding what you're playing over. You know, if you have this really nice, you know, ballad thing that's kind of going on, you know, whatever you're playing over, maybe it's some kind of like that's your backing track right there. And, you know, obviously, so it's E major. I'm not going to be obnoxious and try to play some crazy minor solo. But even if I try to play an E major with the wrong tone, it might not sound the best, you know? So that's going on. If I start in a solo, I'm like, over that, you know. You know, even though I'm in the right key, it's kind of... You know, the tone's very aggressive, and the backing track is not. It's very chill. So it's like, okay, so maybe not bridge pickup, maybe neck pickup, maybe change the way that I'm articulating my notes. So we have the... See how, you know, like I said, you have to kind of adapt what pickups you're using, the way you're attacking the strings to fit the moment. It's all tone is so vast. It's not just simply the sound of an amp on 10 or a guitar volume half down. Tone is like this all-encompassing thing that I really feel like it takes, you know, it takes a lifetime. You'll be messing with tone your entire life. You'll never master it, but you're gonna keep picking things up, you know, playing with your fingers, different tone. You probably saw me do it when I was playing over that. You know, sliding into notes, letting the note fade, letting the note bend up but not come back down. You know, these are dynamics. These are tones. These are the way that you sound. So to me, tone is not a simple black and white kind of thing. It's just the way you sound. So that's my kind of opinion on tone. If you are not happy with your tone, if you feel like you have bad tone, you know, it's not always the gear that you're using. I'm not saying that gear doesn't help, and it doesn't help relay the message that you're trying to put into your tone. Also look at yourself. You know, I'm always looking at myself for tone, and like I said, I'm realizing, like, oh, if I use my fingers here, I'm not changing amps, I'm not changing channels, adding a pedal. I'm just changing the way I'm playing to give me a different sound. So that's today's video, guys. Thank you all, as always, for being so amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And, yo, let's bounce on out of here. Let's go play some guitar. Let's work on our tone. So I'll see you later, homies. Peace!